Imagine finally hitting your number. You sell your business for $50 million. The prevailing cultural myth says you pack up, move to a beach, sip drinks in the sun, and never work another day. But for the people who actually make it to that finish line, the fantasy disintegrates very quickly. After 6 months of doing nothing, absolute idleness kicks in, and the isolation can be enough to drive a person toward insanity. Consider the daily reality of billionaires. They do not experience a life of calm relaxation. Instead, they face relentless stress and pressure. Being responsible for vast amounts of capital and thousands of employees brings immense psychological weight, not peace. When you suddenly remove all the problems that a lack of money causes, you are left alone with the problems that money can never fix. If you were anxious or unhappy before getting rich, new wealth simply amplifies those exact same internal issues, forcing a hyper-focus on traumas and insecurities you can no longer blame on paying rent. The entire pursuit of wealth is framed around the promise of an emotional cure. But fixing the numbers in your bank account does not fix your life. It merely shifts the battleground from external survival to an internal, rigged psychological game. Making money operates like a structured game with a very specific rulebook. Yet if you look at standard education, you'll notice a glaring absence. The actual mechanics of generating capital are omitted from the curriculum. Think about major corporations. They protect their trade secrets with aggressive patent laws and intense security. The rules of wealth are guarded with that same level of scrutiny. Industry titans treat the mechanics of wealth preservation as guarded intellectual property, ensuring the blueprints of their systems remain inaccessible to the average consumer. To actually win this game, you have to ignore the standard financial advice packaged for consumers. You have to actively seek out the invisible architecture that the top 1% rely on to survive. There is a strict divide in the modern economy. You either own scalable assets, or you are the asset being owned and utilized by a corporation. This chart maps income sources for the top 1%. 75% are entrepreneurs, and 15% are investors. The salaried employee hits zero. Watching that 0% loop reveals the monthly salary trap. It's a narcotic stopping you from building scalable equity. The math makes the rule clear. You cannot achieve true wealth by renting out your time by the hour. You must systematically acquire and build equity. Analytical. Once you start building equity, the biggest threat to your survival is distraction. Elite operators manage this through a strict framework, signal versus noise. Industry titans like Steve Jobs operated on a brutal 80-20 ratio. They identified the 3 to 5 mission-critical tasks that actually moved the needle for the day and dedicated 80% of their waking hours exclusively to executing them. Everything else falls into the category of noise. The highest performers ruthlessly cut out social obligations, minor administrative choices, and endless doom scrolling to protect their mental bandwidth. Elite performance requires total mastery over this filter. Without the ability to ignore the noise, the system ensures you remain an operator within it, rather than its architect. Earning high income introduces an entirely new set of psychological hazards. As capital begins to accumulate, there was an overwhelming social urge to immediately project that new status to peers. This triggers the hedonic treadmill. Your income scales from $20 an hour to $1,000, but your desires automatically scale right alongside it. You buy a larger house, a more expensive car, and suddenly your newly generated wealth is entirely consumed by your upgraded lifestyle. The risk multiplies exponentially when you factor in relationships. If you enter into a marriage with a partner who lacks financial discipline and demands a high consumption lifestyle, the resulting financial stress becomes catastrophic. You end up in a paradox where you are pulling in millions of dollars a year, yet you feel completely suffocated because your massive monthly overhead requires every single cent just to stay afloat. Without intense psychological discipline, increasing your income does not buy you freedom. It only upgrades the bars of your financial cage. Historic dynasties like the Vanderbilts blew through vast fortunes trying to maintain a massive public image. Contrast that with the calculated, quiet discipline of those who actually sustain generational wealth. Practitioners of stealth wealth actively choose to live far below their means. They ignore the urge to buy the flashy car or the designer clothes, preferring to stockpile their capital in silence. Highly visible prosperity is often an illusion, masking deep leverage and debt. True financial power is almost always hidden in liquidity and self-restraint. The consumer system demands you use your capital to accumulate objects, but the true, absolute utility of money is using it to buy your own freedom. This animated calendar grid illustrates the mechanics of reclaiming your time. Each dark block represents hours sold to someone else. As your wealth grows, those blocks turn clear, proving that money's ultimate purpose is the ability to dictate your waking hours and reclaim autonomy. Once you cross that final threshold and buy back all of your time, you'll discover a simple psychological truth. You are left with the exact same internal mind state you had before you started. A calm mind, a fit body, and a house full of love. Those are the highest forms of wealth, and no amount of capital can purchase them. They can only be cultivated and ultimately owned.